Welcome, everybody, to Relax and Respawn. I am your host, Jesus, and with me, as always, is my co-host, good friend, father of my children. Hal, how's it going?
Oh, man, it's going good. I love the introduction. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
We have beautiful, wonderful children named Pikachu, Growlithe, and Snorlax.
Yeah.
They are adorable children.
Oh, yeah.
And I have Snorlax right here.
Exactly.
Baby Snorlax. Little baby here. How the heck are you? It's been a weekend for me, but I want to know about your weekend.
It's been a weekend for me too. It's funny because so we've talked about this on Respawn Please, the video game podcast, but a little bit where I told you off the stream too as well that I was helping a very small church set up a new sound system, you know, and I was helping them get things set up for their entire band, for live streaming, for audio, just everything you could think of that involves a small church. I was doing it. So it happened yesterday when we first started, and we met up, and, you know, I thought that everything was going to be, I'm like, yeah, you know, it won't take too long. Boy, it took long. And so it took longer than expected because there were other things that were happening that I didn't realize were going to be happening that day, which caused the delay. So initially, what a job I thought, when I think about it, when we were first doing it, it should have taken maybe about 2 hours, 2 hours, hour and a half at most. Ended up taking 5. Yeah, that's a drastic jump in hour. Well,
that's something. Yeah.
So the reasoning why that happened is because they had some sort of small event before and they didn't clean up and everything wasn't set up. So they had everything in boxes. Nothing was unpacked or anything like that. So I had to work through one by one setting up a new mixer for all their inputs for the band, for the microphones, everything, that having to set up a new PC for them that they had purchased, which you actually helped me out with recommendations for that, and getting that started, downloading OBS, downloading a couple of things for them to be able to get the mixer audio into OBS, into the stream, setting up the stream stuff. And then also a couple setbacks is a lot of the equipment that they had, like besides like the mixers and old things like that, a lot of their XLR cables were old and were basically glitching and breaking and stuff like that. So there were a couple times where we had to wait for people to go to the store, go to a Guitar Center, go to an audio store or something like that, just to go get that. And there were moments, I kid you not, where they would come back, we'd get the equipment, and we keep going. Up, you got to go back to the store and get something else. Just a lot of back and forth. And so just a lot of things that just we didn't foresee. And so, but luckily, at the end of those 5 hours, we got basically 90% of it done, enough for them to be able to have their service and do a live stream, which is good. There was only, I think, maybe like 2 things we didn't get to do. And then it felt like a job. It felt like I worked. And so, but it was fun though. I was having a blast with it. It was cool. And then after that, lastly, today I had to go back in the morning to kind of oversee everything and kind of teach whoever was going to take my place, essentially, to kind of show them how everything works, how to audio engineer live and stuff like that. And it was fun. It was cool. I still have to go back in 2 weeks because just to check up on them. They want me to check up on the person that I taught and stuff like that. And so that was basically my weekend. It was interesting how everything played out, because I know you had a crazy weekend. And it's interesting how, like, we both basically, a lot of stuff came up because we were supposed to record this yesterday, but a lot of stuff came up that just kind of like prevented us from doing it, which is fine. It ended up working out, but it's just crazy, just everything that happened. But I know you had a crazy weekend. If you want to tell everybody what happened to you.
Yeah. Oh man, it was a great way to wake up Saturday morning, 8 o'clock. I'm letting my dogs out, and I look out and I'm like, huh, that's not supposed to be there. A tree had fallen.
Oh man.
And the tree had taken out our garden area. had completely demolished like the fence between my neighbor's yard and our yard. Crazy. And the garden that my mom and I had been working on since April, completely pretty much, it's not completely ruined. We were able to get a hold of some people to come out to quickly repair the fence and clear out the tree and stuff, because the tree was just too big for my dad and I to like use a chainsaw to clear out and stuff. We wanted to be safe rather than us trying it ourselves and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so my dad was able to get some people to come in and handle it. And so all of that got cleared out. They finished today. They finished the repairs on the fence today, this morning, actually, which my dogs were going crazy about because they don't like strangers.
Yeah.
We woke up yesterday morning and it was chaos. Because like the dogs started running into the neighbor's yard and I had to go grab them. And I was like, shit, chaos. And then, it was just a weird way to wake up. And like what the construction people said, the people that came in to cut the tree and stuff was like, the storms from last week. Because we had really bad storms in my area.
Yeah.
And the storms last week pretty much is what caused the tree to like fall, essentially, because like the wind was so like the wind last week was crazy. I remember last weekend like hearing like stuff falling on top of our roof and crap, just like small branches and stuff. But like, it was strong enough to take down a tree. So we cleared that stuff out. We are hoping to salvage what we can of the garden. I forgot to turn off my air conditioning thing behind me. It's loud. I don't know if you can hear it on the mic, but whatever. I'll just have to edit it out later. But yeah, so we're going to try to salvage what we can. The jalapeno peppers look good. The strawberries look good. The tomatoes are pretty much all dead. Like, it's crazy how quickly they died, because they were thriving Friday, and then a day under the tree pretty much killed them. My mom had a little area for pumpkins that she was growing, and the pumpkins were like full bloom, but they're pretty much gone now. But the jalapenos and the strawberries look great. And then oddly enough, the watermelons looked fine as well. So we're hoping to salvage those. But yeah, everything else is pretty much a mess. There's a lot of cleaning we have to do, like the little fence the little mesh fence that we put up to keep the dogs from going into the garden, completely ruined. We're gonna have to like put up a new fence and stuff.
Dang.
The little gate that we had that I built, completely gone. So I'm gonna have to rebuild a new gate before I leave for Japan and stuff. So there's just a lot of stuff I have to do before I leave. But yeah, it was chaos yesterday, and my mom, rightly so, was upset, and she's been kind of negative about the whole experience. But we just got to go out there and clean it up, finish cleaning it up, and see what we can salvage. Because it just sucks, because we
definitely
the tomato plants had tomatoes on them, like green, so they weren't ripe yet. But now they're they're pretty much ruined. They're like all scattered on the ground and stuff, smashed and all that. But it's like, man, we had tomatoes growing, and we just needed like another week or two to be able to pick them,
Yeah.
So
that's so crazy, man. It's crazy like that happened. It's so interesting, and what timing for everything, just because I don't like, I remember seeing like on TikTok or just like a couple places, just seeing how crazy like the winds were, and just like how wild it is. Here we didn't get anything, and so we really didn't. I think the most that we got was like a little rain, but it wasn't like super crazy, and then I forgot to mention, it's crazy because on the way to this morning to go kind of check everything and run everything and teach people, my car started to act up, and I was just like, oh geez, I was like, what's going on? And then, but luckily it's fine. Like my car listen, I'm going to say right now, my car is very old. It's, I think about 7 or 8 years old. And I've already put, within that time span, I've driven this car. Like I've driven it. My mileage is, I think, 215,000 miles. So I've driven this thing. And so, but it's still okay. It still pushes. And so now I'm kind of like, well, it is getting old. So it's like, woof, you've drug me through the mud. And so I'm just like, okay, but luckily it's fine. Like I can still drive. It just, I can't gun it like I used to. And so, but it's just crazy how stuff works out like this, or like stuff like this happens, because it kind of feels like I don't know if you ever experienced this, where I kind of feel like certain things happen that kind of make you look at things. And, you know, like, I'm pretty sure, like I said, your mom was upset about the garden just because you all dedicated so much time to it, you know?
Yeah.
You put so much love into it. And so when stuff like that happens, it's like...
It was like a project that we were doing before I would leave to Japan, you know?
Exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
Because I'm about to leave to Japan for at least a year, maybe more. And I won't see my mom during that time, probably, unless they come out and visit me in Japan. So It's like, this was our project that we were doing together, and mostly gone. Again, we're going to try to salvage what we can. But
exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting when stuff like that happens, because I know one thing that I struggle with sometimes in life is getting rattled. I like to call it, just, you know, you get a little rattled, you get a little shaken a little bit, because you what happens is we kind of go through rhythms or grooves, and every now and then in life, or just whatever, you get a little shake because the universe decides to shake you a little bit, and it kind of puts stuff in perspective a little bit. Like, going back to the setting up the sound, when everything was going on and a lot of stuff was like broken or just wasn't working, I was just like, man, this is like crazy. And like, I started to feel a little pressure and a little jittery. Sometimes when I'm under a lot of pressure, I start to feel very twitchy, very jittery, just because it's like so much pressure. But when everything was said and done, I was like, I actually kind of enjoyed that, you know? Yeah. It's interesting because, like, I can't say that, you know, for the garden or anything like that, but it's what I would say is, like, it just goes to show you how much, you know, you cared about that thing. And, you know, you can always try to grow more, and hopefully, like, as you go off to Japan, your mom just continues to grow, and she'll send you pictures and stuff of stuff that she's growing. But it sucks when stuff like that happens, like a tree falls on it, you know?
Yeah. It's just wild. It's just a wild thing, because, like, it was, you know, woke up in the morning and I was just letting my dogs out, and then it was like, oh shit, something's not right in the backyard. This is weird.
Yeah,
that's not supposed to be. That's not supposed to be there. What's going on?
Yeah. So when that tree fell, like, I guess you were asleep when it probably happened, and then you just didn't hear anything.
It's the wild thing about it is, like, I was up until like 3 o'clock in the morning between Friday and Saturday night, and I never heard anything. And I woke up about 8 o'clock, so it was only like 5 hours had passed since I fell asleep to waking up to let my dogs out.
Yeah.
So man, in that 5 hour span, I guess it happened, and I just didn't hear it. It didn't wake me up or anything, because like the garden area is like pretty much right next to my window, so you would think I would hear it.
Yeah.
Like, because like I sleep on the my bedroom is like on the first floor of my house.
Yeah.
The room that I'm in used to be the living room. I took over because I'm a crazy person. But like, it's on the side of, like, the garden's on the side of on that side of the house, like right outside my window and stuff. So you would have thought I would have heard it or something. It's a good thing, like, the tree didn't like fall into the house.
Exactly. Yeah.
Outwards, because it would have landed right on top of me, type of deal.
That's would have been crazy. But definitely.
We wouldn't be doing this right now at all.
I know,
exactly. Would have fallen
on
the house. I would have been like, "Hell, we're not doing shit for the next 2, 3, 5 years." What?
Exactly. That's so crazy. That's one of the things that I think about. Like, yeah, that could have happened. It literally could have landed on the living room. Next thing you know, you would have been like, hopefully not harmed or anything like that. And then, just being like, well, I guess we're gonna take a little hiatus until things get back to normal. And so. It's just so crazy that stuff like that happens. Has anything like this ever happened before, or like where like a tree's fallen, or maybe like certain damage to the property or something?
Oh yeah. This was during the pandemic. So I want to say it was like it was early pandemic. So I want to say it was like 2020. My parents' room upstairs, the ceiling caved in after a storm. Because there was a hole in the roof. And we had like multiple really bad storms, like days in advance, and so the attic area was just collecting water, and it caused the whole roof to collapse. And on top of my mom too. It was like, well, not on top of my mom, but like my mom was in bed when it happened, and it like was at the very end of their bed, and like on that side of the room and stuff. And it was just like, yeah, water accumulation and stuff. Because a squirrel, according to the contractors, when they were like looking at the house, they were like, oh yeah, this looks like somebody just was chewing through stuff.
Wow. So the squirrel was trying to kill y'all.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
So that was like early pandemic. And my parents for that time, like pretty much moved downstairs. We cleared out the other room. We cleared out one of the rooms downstairs and they went in there and and until they got it fixed, they were there for like at least a good month and a half, 2 months before that part of the house got repaired. So
dang, man, it almost
got covered up in crap.
Wow, it almost sounds like this was the squirrel's next step of like knocking the tree down.
The squirrel was chewing through the tree and just like, yeah, motherfuckers, I'm gonna kill these bastards.
Like, you know what? I'm tired of this. And then he's like, I'm gonna lock this tree on them. And then fortunately, it fell in the other way.
It went to the food source that he was loving.
So he messed himself up.
Yeah,
that's crazy. This I had a couple of questions. Sorry, not to cut you off, but I had a couple of questions that I wanted to transition to. Because we've had a crazy weekend, or a very hectic and chaotic weekend, just up and down. But we've made it through, which I'm happy. I'm happy it's Sunday. It almost feels like we went to battle in a way. That's what it feels like. But I wanted to ask you, because I know you're about to go to Japan for who knows how long. Hopefully you enjoy
72 years. Never returning home.
Oh my gosh. It's interesting to me because whenever I think about like you going to Japan and just like me when I moved here, and then now pretty soon next year I'll be moving again to where we're not too sure, me and my partner. It makes me think of, do you ever look back and like, do you ever like foresee yourself, like, did you ever think that you'd be here? Like, did you ever think that you would go to Japan to go teach? Because like, it makes me think, when did you did this start early where you wanted to do the JET program and you wanted to go there? Or is this something that just kind of stumbled upon and you thought that'd be a cool idea?
So you probably, I don't know if you remember Marshall.
Yeah.
He did the JET program back when he graduated. So that was like 2011, 2012, something like that. And I remember briefly talking to him about it, like before I transferred universities. I remember him talking about wanting to do that and going through the program and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I had heard about it back then, type of deal. So that was, like 2011-ish, around there, 2011, 10. Yeah. And I believe he's still living in Japan. I don't know. I'd have to check Facebook. I'd have to check Facebook. I'm friends with him on Facebook. But,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he went through the JET program. I remember like seeing glimpses of it and stuff, him talking about his experience on via Facebook and crap like that. But for me, I didn't really start thinking about the JET program or wanting to move to Japan until the pandemic. When I was it was probably like 2021 when I was like, oof, I'm going to be graduating soon. I was like, but my program's only 3 years. I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do after this. Like, like deciding to teach was something I'd already decided going into my program. Like I was like, I want to go teach. I know that. That's why I'm pursuing a master's. The beauty of having a MFA is that it's a in the arts, you oftentimes like to teach at the college level, you need a doctorate. Oddly enough, though, like if you're in the arts or anything like that, liberal arts, you only need an MFA to be able to teach. And some universities will accept a MA, a Master of Arts. But for the most part, an MFA is like the most flexible one because MFAs tend to be specifically about teaching. Okay. Whereas MA is more about studies. Okay. So giving little information there. So like my intention was to teach at the college level. But the other thing that you need at the college level to teach at a university and stuff is publication. You need to be published to be able to teach at universities and stuff, because you need to have a portfolio of work that you can point to and go, look, see, I'm qualified to teach these things because I have this published and this published and this published and this published.
Yeah.
And I only have a handful of things published that's not big enough to really catch the eye of a university. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To at least get on like a tenure track at a university. I can teach at a university, but it would only be like an adjunct professor, which is basically a part-time professor, which is what I did this past year, this past academic year. I was just an adjunct professor part-time. I only worked like 10 hours a week, 12 hours a week, and it pays next to nothing. You get no benefits and all that crap. Yeah. So it's like, I made like over the course of this last academic year, I'd made like 16,000 or something like that.
Oh,
so it's like nothing.
Yeah.
Being like, from lucky me, I don't have to like pay rent or anything like that. But like, if I had to go to the hospital or something, I'd be fucked because I wouldn't have like health insurance and stuff. Cause again, no benefits. I didn't have health insurance until the start of this year.
Wow.
So I went like a year, 2 years without 3 years without health insurance. Whenever I moved back to Arkansas, I didn't have health insurance during my time in grad school. The plus side to that was that like I could go to the university doctors and as a student and get like super cheap. But like as a teacher, as an adjunct professor, I don't get that perk anymore. So
wow.
But yeah, so I'm getting off track here. Sorry. Getting back to Jet. I decided I wanted to do that during grad school. Because I was like, I want to go someplace new.
Okay.
I want to go someplace new. I want to try something new. And so I was like, what if I went and taught English overseas?
Mm-hmm.
What if I did that? I had looked at South Korea. Because I looked at South Korea. I looked at Japan. I even looked at China. Because like a lot of Asian countries have English programs where they want English speakers to come teach.
Yeah.
And so I looked at that and like it came down to between South Korea and Japan. I ended up going with Japan because the JET program is the JET program itself is run through the Japanese government. There's a lot of perks to it. The pay is really good for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's pretty much why I went for JET. There's other reasons too, but I'm not going to expand on them right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it started in grad school. It wasn't really something I thought about until I got to grad school. I just really wanted to go someplace new, try something new, experience something new. Cause like I've lived in Arkansas the majority of my life. I've been fortunate and lucky enough I had a career where I got to travel from one coast to the other coast of the United States, doing theater, doing stuff that I loved. And now I wanted to see what was next for me. That makes sense. Like I wanted to start that sort of next journey because I was tired of I was tired of this old life and I wanted to just experience something new.
No, definitely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because that reminds me of it's so funny. So of course we're both from Arkansas. Going to school. I went to school for a degree in film. But I used a degree, but it's interesting because for a long time I know before I graduated I wanted to go to LA because at that time the whole old thing of like, well, if you want to be in the industry, you got to go out to where it's at. You got to go to LA. You got to, do all that. And, but it was just too expensive. And, I had friends here in Atlanta who were in the music industry because I also did make music back then. Not as, I didn't take it as serious as I do now, but, I would do it kind of just as like a passion project in a way. And, I would come out here for like festivals and stuff like that. And like it's interesting because like I loved film, I love shooting videos. I had loved like a bunch of different things. I moved here and I actually fell in love with photography because I would follow some accounts on Instagram, and they were like city photographers, like nature photographers, and I just loved the way that the photos look, and I kind of got addicted. And I used to do this thing where I would wake up every single day at like 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, and I would just I would drive downtown to Atlanta, and I would stay in downtown Atlanta. Like I'd stay in some parking deck and I would just walk around. I'd just walk around for like hours at end just to capture pictures, just to take pictures because I was so addicted. And that career led me to do a lot of great things to where I shot like album covers for like very big people. I worked with a lot of great Atlanta hip hop artists. But it's interesting because I had never seen this, like I never foresaw this happening ever. I just, I was just doing something that I liked. Eventually got to a point where I even went on tour with a hip hop artist, which was a lot of fun. I had never been on tour, but to see this tour and to go on it, live on a bus for I think about a month, almost 2 months, it was a blast. It almost felt like being a kid, but it was also eye-opening to see how this industry works. And I remember once that tour was over, I was burned out creatively, burned out. I didn't want to take another picture. I didn't want to shoot another video. I didn't want to do anything. I was just burned out creatively. Side note, during all this, I kind of put music to the side because this is kind of like the main thing I was doing. But when I came back from tour, I was feeling good, but also a little disappointed because at that time, I think I was in a previous relationship that just didn't work out. Just because we were at two different points in time in our life. But I decided to get back into music, got back into music, and started to sing, started to learn all these instruments and stuff like that. And it's interesting because now I'm at a point where I'm with my partner, and she's amazing. She is everything she does is amazing, and it's inspiring to see. But it's to kind of go back to what I had asked you earlier. I never saw this happening. Like I never saw any of this happening. I never thought that I'd be the person that I am today. It's so interesting because this makes me go to a second question that I want to ask you. Well, it's kind of two-parter. First part, what did you want to be when you were growing up? What was like your first like real like I want to do this, like I want to do that? Because I have a couple that I wanted to do, and then also second part of that question. Do you still want to do that, or have you done it, or did you kind of realize maybe I didn't really want to do it? It was just kind of like interesting, and you just something else took a hold of you that you wanted to do.
Yeah. Also, I never answered your first question.
Oh,
I realized that after it because I rambled on about the jet stuff. Did I ever see myself going to Japan? No, no, I didn't. I was like that was like a far off thought. That was I'm interestingly enough, I'm writing about this now for something. I'll talk about it in the future, maybe. Okay. I'm writing something right now, and one of the things that I'm writing about is that I never plan things. I don't. I'm not a planner. The most I've planned is our weekly episodes for for this, and even then that's just me throwing stuff in there and going like, we're going to talk about this. Like I don't plan things out. I just go through life. I go with the flow, and whatever happens happens. So you like me going to Japan was very much I woke up one day and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the jet program. I looked into it. I'll just go do that. I guess I'll end up in Japan and see what happens.
Wow,
so
okay.
I don't know if that's how you live your life, but that's how I've always been. I just kind of just do shit. I just go through life. Even when I was in high school when we first met and stuff, it was just going with the flow and seeing what happens. So
nice.
To get to your new questions, can you repeat them for me again? Sorry.
Yeah. I was going to say that the first question was, what did you want to be when you were growing up? Like when you were a kid that you can remember. And then the second part of it is, if you haven't accomplished it or you did it, did you still want to do that? Is that still something you want to revisit? Or is it something that maybe you feel like you've outgrown and kind of something else has captured your attention?
So when I was younger, there was, for me, I have always loved writing. I've always wanted to write and be a writer. Even through, I think I was like 7, 8 years old. I was at the store and I saw a Star Wars book and I was like, what? There's Star Wars books? I can make people write Star Wars books. I was a dumb kid. And at the time I had just been introduced to Star Wars and I was obsessed with Star Wars. And so my mom got me my first like chapter book. It wasn't even like a kid's book. It was a full length novel type deal.
That's hilarious.
I just sat down and read it. Didn't understand. I probably didn't understand half of it. Ever since then though, it's like I wanted to write because I just love telling stories. I love escaping to other worlds and stuff. As I got older, I briefly wanted to be like in video games, like write video games or stuff like that. I've never really had any skills when it comes to like computer programming or graphic design or anything like that. So that was always like, I was like, I don't know if I could get into video game design or anything like that. But if I could write a story, that would be amazing. If I could write the script. And then even going through college, it's always been writing for me. Now, I did sidetrack. I started doing sound for the theater, and I enjoyed it. And I started doing that because it was like, my writing is not going to get me money right off the bat. Writing is like a whole hustle that there's a reason why it's a hard thing to do. Like that's why there's a lot of people that self-publish, and self-publishing now is becoming very common thanks to like Amazon, the Kindle stuff and all that. But like back in like even 10 years ago, self-publishing was like frowned upon. Now it's a little bit better about it, but it wasn't really an option for me back in the day. I could maybe do it now, but I'm hesitant with it, especially based off of feedback that I've received. If I'm wanting to pursue a university job, this is elitism at its finest at the university level, where they go, if you want to teach at the university level, you cannot self-publish. Wow. You have to find, even if it's a small publisher, you have to get published by a actual publisher.
Wow.
So elitism, yay, universities. But yeah, so like writing's always been my thing that I've wanted to do, and I do it in my free time. Have I made a career out of it? Not yet, but it would be lovely if I could. Teaching and the theater stuff have just been like ways to support me while I pursue paths to write, if that makes sense.
No, definitely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think to kind of go back a little bit further, how you live your life, my life, it's your how you do it, but except light version. It's not the full game. It's a light version of it where I kind of do plan out certain things in my head. I just nonchalantly do it. It's just automatic that my brain does it. That it's almost like I have a scheduler in my brain, and it's like, you need to do this, you need to do that. You might get to this, you might not get to that. You need to do this. You don't want to do it, but you have to do it. And so, I'm trying to get better of not just kind of sticking to a schedule, because sometimes what will happen to me, just because of the type of person I am, if let's say I'm going about my day and like, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm on schedule. If something like randomly happens that kind of messes up my schedule, it kind of upsets me a little bit. Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know why. I guess maybe it has to do with me being in control of like what I can and can't do or whatever. Yeah. But that's usually how I live my life. Most of the time, I'll be like, okay, I need to do this today. I need to do that. I need to do that. And then if I don't accomplish it, I'm getting better at this part where if I don't reach everything or finish everything I need to do, I'm starting to be okay with that's okay. You just didn't get to it today. And so that's how I live my life. To kind of go back to my own question, it's funny because there's a couple things that I've wanted to be, or I thought I wanted to be growing up. So as a kid, as I was growing up, I was like kind of a husky kid. And I used to really love football. I wanted to play football for like a while. But I realized that I don't think that I truly enjoyed it. And it was more so, you know how like sometimes, I don't know if your parents did this, where they were like, oh, you can become anything you want. It'd be great if you became a doctor, a lawyer, just, you know, the typical like society deems these jobs as great type of thing. And my mom, she would be like, oh, if you played football, that'd be so amazing and da-da-da. And, you know, I was like, maybe that would be amazing. People cheering me on, that sounds great. But I remember the times that I did play, every time I got hit, I hated it. I was like, why are people hitting each other? This hurts. I don't like this at all. And so I think I might have played for a year or two. And then after that, I got out because I was just like, I don't enjoy getting hit in the head. Like, I just don't like that at all. So from there, of course, my love for video games came in, and I was like, I love video games. I love playing them. It'd be cool to create them. And then I did research of how they create video games, and I was like, ooh, I don't like this.
Yeah, that's how it was too. It was like,
exactly. I was like, I don't want to deal with all these numbers. I don't want to deal with all these graphics, like how to create it, design the stuff. I was like, that's not interesting. Yeah. And then from there eventually came film, because my mom, the reason why I loved film so much is my mom still to this day has, like, I want to say a DVD collection of over like hundreds of DVD films. They're all just like stacked up in our house. And she always had the TV on. It was always on a movie. It was always on a TV show. It was always on. When you fell asleep, you could hear it still on. She just loved watching movies. We would go to the movies. And I fell in love with cinematography because of how beautiful certain shots could be, or just like the meaning behind a shot, and how you could say a lot without saying anything. And so I started to get obsessed with cameras. And then in high school, I started to get obsessed with music, because I think that was the time that I listened to a couple of albums, and what I was really impressed was with the beats. And I was like, who made these? And I started to read like the credits. I would read the small print and be like, who made this? Who made this? Started to do research and be like, how do you make these things? Because I want to recreate it. And then got obsessed. Then that just kind of opened the floodgates to where I started to learn how to make these things and how to just make music. And so, I think I'm actually living the dream right now personally, but
yeah,
just because I get to make music, and occasionally I do make money off of that. And I think that's amazing. Of course, like I used to think I wanted to be like super famous and stuff like that. But now I'm like, actually, that's great that I did not become super famous, because I think I'd be miserable. Because I was never worried about like fame or anything. I just wanted to be able to make a living off of, creating music or whatever. And I feel like I was successful with photography, because I did a lot of great things and accomplished a lot of great things. Now more so, I think with that part, I think I just want to take great pictures and just capture moments. Because I don't know about you. I know for me, whenever I go out in public, or if I'm out somewhere in public, I have this habit of sometimes, like if I'm out at lunch or something with my partner and a couple of friends, I tend to disassociate sometimes, to where people will be having a conversation and I kind of step back in my mind and I look and I'm like, wow, this is a moment. Like, this is a moment that everybody's having. And I look at people and I watch people. And so I love capturing like people in their element. And like what I would always do with photography, when I was doing a lot of city photography, is I would just be there, hide my camera, and just kind of watch for a little bit, almost like bird watching, but I'm people watching. And I'm just like, oh, here's a moment, snap. Here's a moment, snap, snap. Oh, this is cool, snap, snap. And just capturing things that people don't normally get to see all the time, And so it's pretty fun. And I still love it to this day. Because when me and my partner went to Japan initially, I was doing it on my phone. I didn't have my camera, but I was like, well, I have my phone. Let me just take pictures. And I captured a bunch of like cool photos that I just love. And I was like, oh, I love this. I love capturing humans and like just snapping a moment of their life, or, a moment of the city and just how it is. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I do something similar with writing, actually. It's very different from just capturing a picture. But I people watch a lot. Oh, my dog's going crazy. I people watch a lot. People listen, because part of writing is knowing human nature, understanding human nature. And nobody talks the same. Nobody acts the same. Yeah. Even if people are related, there's like subtle differences. And for me, as a person that when I go on walks, if I'm able to walk in an area where there's other people, I like to watch people and like see what their tics are, see how they're communicating, because there's like always these subtle differences. And in my mind, it's like, how can I take that little moment in time, how they said this very specific word, how can I translate that into like characters that I'm creating for my stories and stuff when I'm writing? And so that has proven invaluable for me, like just creating more fleshed out characters, giving them these moments and stuff. And and it's always having to play by memory. Sometimes I'll pull out my phone and quickly type it in, just be like, they said this in this way. They stressed this syllable in this word. It's interesting for me, like when it comes to writing like that. People watching is like one of the most invaluable tools a writer can have, because you can learn so much when you're just sitting like in a park, or sitting like when I was working at the university and going through grad school, when I had to be on campus, I'd go to the fountain, if you remember the fountain. I would just sit there and watch people walk by, going about their day, going to classes and stuff, whether they were in groups or if they had headphones on and were listening to music, just watching them and listening and taking the world around me. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about people watching is because my brain, like, I think what it is like my partner is a little bit different than she's very different than how I kind of am able to see the world, of course. But it's interesting because I always talk to her about patterns. People have patterns. They have certain rituals that they do, whether they know it or they don't, you know. And I like, that's the one thing that I always notice, like you were saying, how someone speaks, how they say certain words to me. That's the first thing that I catch. Or the little subtle nuances of how they move their hands, or, you know, like I know one of my things is like I talk with my hands a lot. They move because I'm adding kind of like an emphasis on something that I'm talking about. It's interesting because my brain then goes like, it tries to think, wow, I wonder what kind of life you've lived, because what are the experiences that molded and kind of just helped make you to how you are today. And so like, it's just always interesting. And that's why I love just almost like studying humans in a way. It's very interesting. But there's actually something else kind of staying on this topic of just like, you know, where we are now. Did you ever have a test in school? I don't know if you ever did this in test in school. You know how they used to have like career tests of like what you would be great at? Yeah.
I remember one test, because I think we only took it once. I took a test that basically, I guess, just it's almost like a personality test where it talks about like what you're interested, what you like to do. It's so funny how mine was like, you could be a counselor or you could be a farmer, and I was like, a farmer. I was like, a farmer.
What?
And I was just like, I don't want to farm. I don't, you know. And it's funny now because later in life where I'm at now, I'm like, oh, it'd be pretty cool to plant your own stuff. Plant a garden or plant your own fruit and like veggies and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, that actually kind of is interesting. It'd be cool to know that.
They knew it back then, and you just got to accept it. In 5 years, you're gonna be El the farmer.
Exactly. I want to just have a big backyard of like plants, veggies, and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's funny too because besides that, the counselor thing. One thing that I always realize for me, people always feel very comfortable talking to me about things, regardless. Because I guess I don't know. Maybe I just have a this type of tendency of just feeling like.
All right, don't toot your own horn. You're a horrible person. Let's be real.
Yeah, but no, I notice people for some reason, even when I'm not asking, people like to talk to me. But I'm like, all right, whatever. Because I know, kind of like me, I'm not. I have a hard time socializing sometimes. And so people always happen sometimes to like come to me and want to talk to me, and I'm like, leave me alone. I don't care. But to go back a little bit before I get lost in this, talking about myself. Did you ever have a test like that? Did you ever take anything like that?
I have no idea. I'm going to be honest. Like, there's like, my memory sucks for things like that where I shouldn't say it sucks because I can remember very specific things, but things like that, tests and stuff, so insignificant to me. Like, I just don't care about it. That I probably did at some point. If it was like done in high school or middle school or whatever, I probably did. What the results were, I have no idea because I didn't care at the time.
Exactly.
Because
I get that.
I get sight. I'm the way my memories are things that I know that I hyperfixated on. Like, I can remember when I first fell in love with Star Wars. I can remember that. I can remember specific moments during my time. This is spoiler. This is a spoiler. What spoil about my life? This weird story of my life here. I used to be part of a jousting troupe. I don't know if you remember that.
Like
I used to go to Renaissance fairs every summer with a jousting troupe and stuff. And I can remember certain things happening at those, like things that stuck with me throughout the years, like the time that they let me die for the first time. A time when I died in the show, and my little cousin, who was like 5 at the time, thought I was really dead, and he was screaming. God. He was screaming bloody murder, saying, "You killed my cousin!" at Danny when Danny had killed me. Danny was one of the knights who had killed me.
That's so funny.
I vividly remember that, and I remember my mom telling me that she had to hold him back because he was trying to run out onto the joust field to get to me.
Oh my gosh.
I remember when Danny got bucked off his horse and like completely shattered his shoulder. So I can remember specific things about that. Same with like college. I remember instances when we've hung out and stuff like that. But like tests like that, I just don't remember. I don't remember. Yeah. It's just because it wasn't anything impactful to me, and it's not anything I thought about, because I probably took the test, got results, and was like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Maybe I am doing it now. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it said I was going to be a teacher, and I just don't remember. So
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, maybe I remember because I know I tend to remember. I think you tend to remember them when they made you feel something, and so like the reason why I probably remember that is because I remember reading it and being like, "What the heck? Like this is kind of like a farmer," and and because I think at the time I was like, "No, I'm going to be a famous blah 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 or whatever." Insert. I'm big gonna superstar.
Be a famous potato. What?
Exactly. So I think that's why I remember it, because I remember like a bunch of like moments, especially funny moments, or at least that were funny to me. Like during like college, I remember like a bunch of stuff. I remember small moments. Like I remember our friend Ron, when he was like working with someone, I think an artist, and he was like recording them as they were like performing or something like that. We met up with the guy at a Waffle House in Maumelle, in Arkansas. And we met him at a Waffle House because we were just like hanging out or whatever. And I guess Ron, he had asked me to go with him because he was like, "Hey, can you come with me? I just kind of, I feel more comfortable if it's not just me talking to him about business." And I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Went to Waffle House, I think got something to eat, and we were talking. And I remember a specific moment that happened. I don't remember the word, but something made me uncontrollably laugh to myself about a word that they pronounced, and it was mispronounced. And it's kind of like, it was ridiculous because I remember when he did it, for those, if you're not watching this, you won't see me how I reacted, but I remember he said some word, I laughed, and I went,
tried to look away, play, and just not let them notice how much
just like
laughing.
Cough or something like that.
Yeah.
So I remember stuff like that. Or for example, randomly, especially this is it's very traumatic as a kid. Nothing super crazy. I say that and you're probably going to be like, that's crazy. As a little kid, I got ran over by a van. My legs got ran over.
Oh yeah, you
as
told
a kid.
Me about this.
Yeah. For those listening, so when I was a kid, I was just like a goofy kid, and I would always run around, try to be funny or whatever to my family. We used to have this big van. If anybody ever looks up like a box van, and like before minivans, and or maybe they were there, whatever. So we always had a gate to our home, and we would always have to open it and close it whenever we were leaving or coming back. And one day my mom said, "Hey, can you go open the gate so I can leave?" I was like, "Okay." Opened it, and I remember she said, "Get out of the way," and I didn't listen, and I sat on the back little small, I guess, tailgate you could call it, or just a little step that the van had, and I was holding on to the door handle, not realizing that the door was still open. And I held on, and I said, "Go ahead." And she did it, and I held on, pulled the door, fell under the van, and my legs got ran over. And it was crazy because I remember that moment vividly, because I remember she was, hold on, I'm going to display this. Like, this is my leg. And she was just like, vroom, 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 just like going over it. Imagine like a big van. And I remember just yelling, and she was like, "What am I running over?" And I was like, "You're running me over. You're running me over." And then I remember it went over me. And I was just like upset, crying, and she pulled me up and she was like, "Go take a shower." Because I was able to get up and I was able to move. And then I was just like crying to myself in the shower. But then like maybe like 30 minutes to an hour later, I was fine. Like it was very wild. Same thing happened to my little brother. But
Jesus. So it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen to your kids now.
Oh no! I hope not.
It's gonna happen to our son Snorlax.
Oh no, Snorlax! I don't know if the car will be able to get over him, but yeah, I remember stuff like that, and so it's just interesting what sticks to us, and so because like, do you ever have moments where like you forgot a memory, but then something triggers it, and you remember it, and you go, "Oh, I forgot all about that." Do you ever have anything like that?
Not really. I mean, yes, I guess. Like I have moments where I'll be doing something and then I'll have like a random thought and just like, oh shit, yeah, that happened at one point in time. And then I'll instantly forget about it. Like it's weird where it's like I'll be doing something and then I'll go, huh, I remember doing this back in 10 years ago. Or it's like I'll pick something up and go, oh yeah, that's right. That happened. And then I don't really know what it was in reference to either or why it happened. It's just like, and then I'll forget about like that specific thing, why I even thought about it, like type of deal. So I have moments like that. But it's always followed with, I instantly forget it. So it's like,
I get that.
So it's I remember an event, something triggers, I remember the event, and then I instantly forget it after I think about it for like 2 seconds.
I get that. I know that happens to me a lot, especially when I'm talking to like people. Like I'll talk to Ron, or maybe I'll talk to T Rose, my other another friend of ours, where he'll be like, "Do you remember when this happened?" And I'll be like, "No." And he's like, because he remembers it vividly, he'll go, "You did this," and I'll go, "Oh my god, I do remember that." Or do you remember this person?
Drunk. God damn.
Yeah. Exactly. He like you were silly or whatever. And so I have that happen a lot. But anyway, enough about memories. The last thing that I kind of want to ask you to kind of, and we're kind of closing towards the end of the pod here. So of course, people who listen, if they don't know, of course we do Respawn Please, which is a video game podcast. And we talked about a little bit earlier about how you talked about your garden that you worked on with your mom. And then, of course, you're writing. Outside of video games, what is something that maybe the listeners wouldn't know that you do that's kind of like a peaceful break from playing video games? Not to say that playing games is chaotic, but what is something that kind of like, if you're not playing video games and you're not at the garden or writing, what are you doing?
What am I doing? And this makes sense, sort of. I recently got into blacksmithing.
Oh, okay.
Just hammering away at metal, heating it up, hammering away. Got a little tiny portable like furnace thing so I could do that. I can't make anything. I can hammer things into shapes, sort of. I'm very still much a listener, but that's something I started doing back at the beginning of this year, actually.
Nice.
And then woodworking. I've been doing woodworking since like 2013, 2014. Just like small things. Like I like building things if I can, figuring out ways to build things. So
nice.
It's both blacksmithing and woodworking can get pretty expensive though. So I have to pick and choose when I do stuff.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah. That's really cool. I didn't know that. That's so cool. I know. I used to get interested in woodworking, or like what is it? Is it called refurbishing? Not refurbishing. Refurbishing furniture or something like that.
Yeah.
Like kind of like taking something old and kind of giving it a whole new, revitalizing. Yeah. So I'm interested. I was interested in that. But that can also get expensive depending on where you get your stuff. But the other thing I'll say that I really enjoy doing is cooking. I actually really enjoy cooking a lot. It's for me, it's very fun. The reason why I like it a lot, and cooking sometimes can be expensive depending on what you're making and the ingredients and where you buy them.
You're not making $2,000 pizzas?
No. That'd be interesting, though.
You're not putting flakes of gold in your food?
Oh no! And then that
Rich people
poop comes
shit.
out gold. Yeah, I know.
Rich people stuff, man.
But I enjoy cooking a lot because I think what it is when I know it's good, I enjoy people and like kind of like them reacting to it and be like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah. Like I cook for my partner a lot and sometimes she'll cook, but I know I like to cook a lot, and just seeing her be like, this is delicious. And then
gives you that serotonin boost, right?
Exactly.
Getting that feedback, just seeing it on their expression and stuff. Like, you're like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, I get it.
I enjoy doing that a lot. And then, what is it? Like sometimes I used to try to do this thing. My mother, she cooks these enchiladas that are like amazing. Mm-hmm. And like, she doesn't cook them all the time, but when she does, it's like, oof, it's like an event. And
gotta love it.
Exactly. And like, it would always suck because I would ask her like, how do you make this? Like, tell me how you make it, because I want to make it exactly for like my partner.
Love, L. I make it with love.
She's like, you're missing love.
From the corpses of, I make it with the corpses of my enemies, L.
Exactly.
Could you go, God, Mom.
Geez, Mom. He's like, well, you should have, you didn't, it didn't taste funny to you? No.
It's human flesh.
Exactly.
Sorry.
But no, you're fine. But she would tell me how she made it, but I could never get it quite like how she made it.
Yeah.
I just could never figure it out. And so eventually I just kind of made my own version of it, which people still like it and stuff, but I'm like, I can't recreate that version that she made. And so I just love it. It's like one of the things, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I really do enjoy. I enjoy working out. I mean, but I mean, I feel like I say that.
We've talked about that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk about working out. Working out sucks. I'll happily be fat for the rest of my life.
I said this, outside of video games, outside of music, I do enjoy messing around with, I've only messed with it a little bit, not as much anymore, but I want to get back into it. Doing like Blender and doing stuff like in Cinema 4D. Yeah. That's pretty fun when you can create, futuristic looking things and give them movement and stuff like that. It's a lot of math, which was a little difficult at first for me, but it's pretty fun when you can do stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And then I think
one other thing for me, like I mean, it might be obvious, but like I like tinkering with technology.
Oh, you know,
building computers and stuff. I mean, you knew that about me. I don't know necessarily about the audience would know, but yeah, I like to tinker with technology, see what I can do with it, and all that stuff. I can't like build anything from scratch or anything like that, but like, I can, give me the components for a PC, I can build you a PC type of deal, and all of that. Which not like pretty much everybody can do that. Well, I guess I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah, like tinker with technology stuff I like to do just to see like opening it up, see what makes it tick and stuff like that. Not necessarily like reverse engineer it or anything, but just like opening it just to look at it and see. And yeah,
I get that.
Weird. I like opening the insides of technology just to see.
I'm kind of
our robot overlords. I won't take you apart. Don't worry.
Exactly. They'll refer back to this. He was pretty good to us, so let him be.
Yeah.
But no, I'm kind of the same because I know I had told you about this off stream, where because of where me and my partner are going, I'm gonna have to get a mobile gaming like laptop to be able to still do the streams and then also game whenever we do that. But I was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe I should build another PC. And like wherever we, kind of settle, I can kind of get another built PC and update. Cause this one that I built is a couple years old now. And I'm like, well, I'll probably due for another one. And I love like building PCs because especially when they're like workhorses and they can just like work.
Yeah.
It's cool to just like get everything and you just kind of clean off a table, set everything down, and you kind of slowly just kind of like those
put pieces
open it
together, take things out.
Exactly. It's kind of like ASMR, but for like watching them put it together, and it's so satisfying. Satisfying.
There's moments where it's frustrating too, though.
Very true. That
when something stops working, you're just like, "What the hell's going on?"
I had a funny moment.
We've had that happen. Like prepping for the stream, where like, why is this not working? So
yeah, it's the double-edged sword of technology, where you're like, it works, it doesn't work.
What's going on? How do we make
What's
this work?
going on? Exactly. I remember the first time I built this PC, I had followed like a guide because it was my first one. And then
Cat's knocking stuff over. Cat's just knocking shit over.
Oh my gosh. But I remember putting it together and like I connected everything. I felt like I did it right. And then of course you go to the moment of truth. You turn the power on. You press the power button to turn it on. Didn't turn on. And I was like, what the hell? I was like, what just happened? So I had to take it apart, redo it again. And then second time, nothing happened. I was like, oh no, I got broken parts. Then sure enough, did it a third time and actually like went step, followed to a fine comb, like to a fine detail. Got it. And it turned on and I was like, oh, satisfying.
Yeah. When I first built my, the PC that's recording this and I stream from and stuff, when I first built that, I built it back at the beginning of the pandemic. I remember just having so many issues with it. Part of it's because I got like parts that were incompatible and I didn't realize it because I didn't use instead of like using the PC picker checker thing, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah.
I just got parts that were incompatible and I didn't realize it at the time, and everything's fine now. But like, I just remember going, "What the hell is wrong with this shit?" I wanted to throw it out the window. Wanted to flip my tables over and stuff. Eventually, everything worked out and it's fine now. But yeah,
at the time you're like, I'm gonna break this thing.
Yeah, I just want to bust it. And then there's been so many times because like for better or worse, I'm a person that when I go through these phases where I need my surroundings to change. What that means for me is that I'll usually like rearrange my room. For some reason, last year, I want to say it was last year. Yeah, I want to say it was like summer of last year. I decided, oh, I need change. I'm going to get a new computer case. I'm going to transfer all of these. I'm going to just get a new computer case and transfer everything for no reason. Like I didn't have to do that at all. There was no reason. I was just like, I want a different computer case. So I bought a computer case and I transferred everything over there. But I don't know why. But I have those moments where like I just like look around and I'm like, I need to change my surroundings.
I get that.
So I'll rearrange, or I'll apparently gut a computer and just put it into get a new computer case. Like I don't know what it is in my brain that just does that, where it's like I have a switch where I just need to rearrange. Like this setup that I've had here is probably the longest I've had a setup. But the other side of like behind this setup is the rest of my room. That's constantly changing. I'm constantly moving things around, trying to figure things out. But like this setup, I'm amazed that I haven't like tweaked. I mean, I've tweaked a little bit of like behind me and stuff, like things behind me, but like the specific setup where my monitors app, my webcam, my light, my mic and stuff like that, that hasn't changed in almost a year now. So yeah,
that's so funny.
I've had this set up for a lot longer than I normally would.
Yeah, gotcha. I get that though. Every now and then, I think it's when you're used to that routine. A part of you, maybe just a part of your brain is like itching, like okay, something has to change because maybe it's just that thing you see every day. Because I feel like that sometimes with like how my studio set up. Like originally, this is like this door is to the bathroom of it, so I can only rearrange this place so much because I used to have my desk, which is right here, over here to my right, and it was like all there, but like the door would be behind me and I would always have to like turn around and see who's coming in. It felt kind of weird. And then I could do it like this way where the desk is behind me, but then there's only so much room, and so it just depends. But I get it. There have been many a times where I either get a new piece of equipment or I get I rearrange something just to kind of feel like I'm in a new place, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, also, I did just lie. I rearranged my monitor setup about 2 months ago. I rearranged my monitor setup because I used to have them pretty much like right next to each other, but now I have my gaming monitor. I have my monitor that's here that I use to monitor when I was streaming. I would use it to monitor chat, and then next to that is my monitor that is running that has OBS on it and stuff, and all of that. So Before that, it was just I only had 2 monitors. Now I have 3 monitors. So I did add a third monitor just to separate things out for me.
I get you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, this is going to go away, though. And I'm going to have to reset it. I think that's the most exciting thing about moving, though, is the figuring out a new space and how you can set it up. Yeah. I'm a nerd. That. I'm weird. I like things like that.
I get that because at first I was panicking with the move that me and my partner are going to be doing. But then eventually I was like, well, no, this will kind of maybe retrain my brain onto how I'm going to do things. And maybe it'll open up a new compartment of my brain and be like, whoa, like now you can do things differently. And you don't need all this other stuff, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're towards the end of the podcast here.
Yeah. My dog's wanting to go potty. So she's been huffing and puffing for like 20 minutes now. Keeps coming over and nudging me to let her outside. So
okay. Well, let me wind things down here. Everybody, thanks for listening or watching the second episode of Relax and Respawn. You can catch the video version of this on our YouTube at Respawn Please Podcast. It'll be in there in its own little playlist. Also, the audio version, if you're watching, is available everywhere you get podcasts. Just Relax and Respawn. Just look it up. You'll find it. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Respawn Please Podcast. Also, be on the lookout for a new series that we have coming exclusive to YouTube for Review Please Video Game Edition.
Yeah.
And other than that, it will be soon. It's actually coming up quicker than everybody thinks.
Yeah. This is quick.
Gotta figure that out.
It is. Shit. Yeah, we got to start planning that out. We got to plan
we have to start
when we're going to record it.
Exactly. But other than that, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We love you, and we'll see you next month.
Don't speak for me. I don't love anybody.
Never mind.
Have a good freaking month of July. Right? Yeah.
Bye. Yeah, it's July. Bye, everybody.